Why does everyone seem to hate CGI? Now don't get me wrong, I understand that it can be incredibly off-putting when CGI looks like this. But that's not really what I'm talking about. Take an interaction I had on Twitter recently. It was a thread of the best comic book movie suits. Some of the suits listed included the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, Captain America's Endgame suit, Black Panther's Civil War suit, stuff like that. Now all of these suits are notable for being mostly practical. They're all really there. But one of the replies mentioned the 2008 Iron Man suit. And if you ask me, that's definitely a contender. It looks amazing. But one of the other commenters implied that it shouldn't be counted because it's completely CGI. And I have to ask, why does it matter? Many times, it can matter. Nobody likes the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern suit. It's a CGI mess that is so blatantly fake that it distracts the viewer. Especially the mask. Like, come on. Why did they CG this? This sort of thing is understandable. Wolverine's claws, Spawn's cape, Black Panther's PS2 fight scenes, Supergirl looking like a straight-up Looney Tunes character in some scenes, and The Flash. CG like this is very distracting because it just pulls you out of the movie. But this still looks fine 15 years later. Yeah, I know he isn't really wearing an Iron Man suit, but does it matter if it still looks believable? I still feel like I can just reach out and touch that suit like it's really there. Now, if you still disagree and you still think that this shouldn't count because it's fake or whatever, that begs the question, what's the alternative? Obviously, practical effects, right? Well, I'm here to tell you, none of this is possible without CGI. Endgame's fight scene would look like the fight scene at the end of X-Men Last Stand without CGI, and nobody wants that. You cannot put Robert Downey Jr. in a real Iron Man suit, and do you know why? Because that doesn't exist. James Spader can't summon a horde of robots. Evan Peters can't save everyone from a mansion before it explodes. And Chris Hemsworth can't summon lightning from his magical axe and/or hammer. If you're gonna chime in and say that all of these things are bad because they're heavily reliant on CG, then I would be very interested to hear how you would approach doing any of this without CG. And your answer can't just be no superhero movies. That's not a solution. Other movies use CG a lot too. Even Christopher Nolan, a well-known avoider of CG, has to use it when it's necessary. Inception couldn't look like this without CG. It would just look goofy. Look at the 1984 Dune versus the 2021 Dune. This is a perfect example of how CG has been beneficial in bringing worlds like Dune to life. That's not to say that studios should just abuse CG into the ground. If you can do something practical and make it look good, do it practical. Like I said before, some CG is obviously unnecessary, especially with CG artists and animators already being overworked as is. I just don't get the mindset of CG equals bad. It's honestly kind of a pretentious take. CG is only gonna get better and more advanced. But some movies are still gonna look pretty bad. I really can't defend this. What's going on here? Listen, your childhood movies had bad CGI. You can't complain about bad CG in No Way Home and not complain about this. Even back then, plenty of people, including critics, criticized the CG. They knew it was bad back then. Now, the CGI in No Way Home is leagues better, like it should be given the modern technology used to make it, but audiences are just used to CG now. It's a lot easier to spot, and because of that, it takes a ton more effort to make it believable. If audiences had seen CG like this back in 2002 or whatever, they would have lost their minds. It would have looked so real. Gollum was a CGI marvel back then. So if Gollum blew people's minds, then you better believe that the fight between Doctor Strange and Spider-Man would have turned a bunch of heads. Honestly, for the most part, even subpar CGI doesn't really distract me as long as it still looks good for the movie that it's in. Look, I'm kind of rambling here, but my point is that getting mad at CG just for existing, it's dumb, it's stupid. Let's be real. Make fun of the bad CG, cause it deserves it, but if it looks good, just be glad we're at a point where superheroes and stuff like that can be believable on screen at all. But that's it. Thanks for listening to my rant.